Good afternoon, guys. Raven Creek Homestead. Paul here. So I'm out in the apiary, out in the bee yard. Gonna be working on some of the honey supers today, and I am going to be installing something that's going to help me for the future extraction process. What I'm going to be doing is, so I was going to harvest some of my honey last weekend, I believe it was. It's Wednesday, July 13th right now. Last weekend I was going to take off some of my supers, get some honey spun, and start getting some of the extraction process started. The problem I encountered is all of my 4 production hives are doing really well this year. I mean, that might sound like an odd problem, but the honey supers are full of bees. And of course, because they're in there working, they're doing what they do. And you can try to shake the bees out, which it's tough, it's hard on the bees. I'd probably end up crushing a couple. The other option is to pull out each frame and with a bee brush off each and every bee, which honestly, I got 4 hives. I was going to take off at least 8 supers. There's 10 frames per super. I don't have the time, nor really, honestly, the interest to brush bees off of 80 individual frames. So there's a couple different processes that you can try. There's 2 of those processes are escape boards or fume boards. And there's benefits to each. I've never yet used either. I decided to go ahead and purchase some escape boards. And so what an escape board is this is what does the trick here on the underside, on the bottom side. So we're going to be putting this underneath the supers that we want to clear out of honeybees. And so as this escape board sits down, when the bees go back down to the brood chambers where they store all of their pollen and where the queen lives and where the egg laying and the brood rearing and all that stuff takes place, at night when they go down to those chambers, they're going to go through the hole that's in the top of this board, and they're going to work their way out these little canals. And once they do that and they get down onto the underside of this board, the bees don't make their way back up. They just can't figure it out. And so if you leave this on, obviously from what I've been reading, the longer the better. I'm going to be hopefully pulling some of these off on Saturday. So they'll be on for a total of 3 days. And hopefully 90, 95, 99, 100% of the bees will be gone out of my honey supers. Then it's just a simple matter of bringing them up to the house. Therefore, I can start working on the uncapping and the extraction process. So I'm going to go ahead and film on this hive, hive number 4, excuse me, while I go ahead and do that process. I'm going to get gloves on. I'm going to put my veil up and everything. I don't work the bees without a veil on, without gloves. If other people have other methods, that's completely up to them. The interesting thing about beekeeping is almost no 2 people do it the same way. Do what works for you. And then one thing I was actually going to say on this video before I got started as well is, especially with beekeeping, let alone not only the homestead stuff as well, but with beekeeping, before you come out to the apiary, I was going to say kind of like a message of the day, double check, triple check that you've got everything you think you're going to need. And after you've done that, after you've triple checked and you think you got all the supplies that you're going to need out in the apiary while you're working the bees, the 4th thing to do is just accept the fact that you're going to forget something. So I was super proud of myself. Here I am. I'm pretty far away from the house where I keep all my supplies. And I thought I remembered everything. I went to go start the video and would take a couple of test shots to make sure the framing was correct. My camera had no memory card in it. So up to the house I go to go get the memory card. So just always make sure that you do your best to try to remember everything, double check and triple check. And if you forgot something, and especially if you can live without it, just roll with it. Do the best you can, and that's the best that you can do. So we're going to go ahead and install a bunch of these. I'm probably only going to record the first one here, and then I'm going to get to working and doing the other ones. Then hopefully come this weekend, lots of honey. Speaking of double checking and triple checking things, now one of the things I always do is making sure and double checking that I've actually zipped up my veil and my front zipper. As many times I have accidentally started working the bees and this is wide open, and I don't know until I'm getting stung in the ear. Now the dogs are running around out here as well. They are pretty good about the fence, the electric fence that I have up. It is a new electric fence, however, so hopefully they don't learn those lessons the hard way, but so far so good. I don't think any of them, they've all listened to my verbal command of no. So hopefully none of them get shocked today. Oh, speaking of forgetting things, I was actually going to set up my GoPro here on the top of the other hive to give you a nice top-down view. Forgot to charge the GoPro. That's dead. Like I said, onward and upward. So I already have my smoker going. For me, that's just a mix of cardboard and dry grass from grass clippings. That seems to go pretty well for me. Gonna go ahead and give these bees a couple squirts, get them calmed down, get them moving. So removing the top cover, removing the inner cover. Some beekeepers don't even use an inner cover like this. I personally do, I like it. Now some of these boxes, I'm going to be reorienting where they are. This top box, it's a brand new box with brand new frames in it. So what you can see, I'll bring this over to the camera here to show you guys, is these are brand new frames, so there's nothing for the bees to put honey in. But what they are starting to do is they are starting to draw out the comb. And so on a super like this, before they can even pack it full of honey, they need to build up all this comb, and they'll put honey in it as they build it up. So it just takes a long process. And this frame I just pulled out of almost the middle, and they tend to build up the middle of these first. So this frame, hopefully, as long as we still continue to get some nectar flow until the dearth, and hopefully maybe again in the fall, hopefully they'll have built this up some and put some honey in it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that this super ends up below the escape board, because I want to make sure the bees still have full-time access to it. That way they can continue to draw wax, build that comb out, and fill it with honey. Now this box, since it's almost empty, completely light, almost nothing to it. Now, these frames, on the other hand, let's see how these girls are doing here. This is gonna be what we're looking for. Now see that? That's a full frame of capped honey. Full frame capped honey. Now on this side, not the whole frame is capped. Those cells are full, but it's not completely capped. That doesn't mean you can't extract it. As long as the majority of the frame of honey is capped over, generally speaking, you can go ahead and extract that. Now as part of the process, before you do any sort of bottling, for me, I use a refractometer. I've discussed that in a different video, but I'll make sure on this channel, because I'm going to start a new channel today, I'll eventually show you folks what that is. And really what it is, it's a quick way to check the hydration level, the water level inside the honey. And I'll get into it more when I talk about that. But you want to make sure that the water content isn't too high when you bottle honey. If it is, it can ferment. Alright, now I technically have a secondary goal out here today, and that's not only just put on the escape board and reorganize the honey supers in the means that I want them, but I want to check for swarm cells. It's the natural instinct of a honeybee colony to swarm. What that means is they're going to raise new queens. The old queen is going to take half of this hive and leave and go find somewhere else to build another colony. From a production standpoint, you want to keep all your bees in one box, and you don't want half your bees taken off, because then they're wasting resources elsewhere. I want to make sure to capture all those resources. So when we look for swarm cells, one of the easiest ways to do it, and there's lots, you're going to check on the bottom of the frames. If I find one, I'll show it to you guys. Now the good thing about swarm cells is you can also harvest those as well to make resources for other hives. I don't know if you can see the ones behind me, but these are all splits that I've made this year from swarm cells. So I've made my own new colonies, and I chose to use those resources in the ways that I wanted to. So now this, I don't think I necessarily need to show you here. I don't have anything to show you on this one. I don't have any swarm cells, and generally speaking, and maybe it's a lazy beekeeping on my part, if I don't have any swarm cells on the bottom of my top brood chamber, I usually don't check the bottom of the bottom brood chamber, because usually my bees, at least this year, have always put their swarm cells on this brood chamber, the top level of it first. So I'm going to go ahead and put that back now. If you can see the white in here as well, those are formic strips, formic acid that I have in there right now for a mite control. I was right at the threshold for mite treatment, so I'm also treating for mites right now too. Hey everyone, good morning. Welcome to Raven Creek Homestead. What the heck just happened? I was over there just flipping up those boxes, talking about making sure you follow instructions for mite treatment. Now I'm over here. This has come full circle. Remember when I was talking about preparedness? Well, come to find out, the Canon 7D, which is the camera that I'm using to record this video with, it only takes video in 12-minute increments, which I didn't know until I went to go review the footage on Wednesday, which, by the way, now it's Saturday, which means these honey supers have had about 3 days, 2.5 days to work in conjunction with the escape boards that I was talking about earlier. So, one of the things I was going to refresh on was when doing the mite control treatment, make sure you follow the directions. You're actually legally bound to do so. I messed up, and like I said, I don't know if I caught it on the other one or not, but I oriented them incorrectly in the hive, and that might be a small mishap, but you want to make sure that if you're going to be introducing pesticides into your bees, which is what you're doing, you're going to do so with maximum efficacy. There is potential risks involved with those, so if you're going to be introducing potential risks to your bees, you want to at least make sure they're as effective as they possibly can be. Morning, ladies. Anyway, back to the escape boards. When putting the escape boards back on the hives, when I was doing this, I actually reversed something here, and I almost made a mistake. My inner cover, I almost put above my escape board, which means the bees could have used their second entrance right here above the escape board, which would have defeated the purpose entirely. So make sure when you're putting on your escape board that if you're using your inner cover for a second entrance, that you go ahead and you put that below the escape board. So I'm going to keep this a little bit more concise, and for the sake of brevity, let's go ahead and open up these honey supers, and fingers crossed, let's hope it's not packed with bees, right? Then I'm going to be taking a whole bunch of these honey supers. So I got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 honey supers I'm bringing up to the house today for extraction, hopefully. So let's go ahead and get my veil on, zipped up, and we're going to break into these hives. Again, struggling with glasses and the veil. Always struggle with glasses. Got the smoker going, but I hopefully don't even need it because there hopefully shouldn't be any bees up here. Part of what I'm going to do off video today too is I'm having a really hard time in my splits here behind me. getting them queen right. So there's going to be some things that I do today in order to assist them in getting queen right. And more on that later. Well, that didn't work. Guess what? This is chock full of bees. Huh. Well, let's check the one below it and see if it's any better. I wonder if these bees have just been hanging out for 3 days, not going back down. Apparently the bees did not read the instruction manual on the escape board. Well, there's a lot less bees in the bottom one, but this top one's totally full. So it looks like I got a good amount of work brushing and shaking bees, and I'm not going to do that all on camera because it's going to take me a long time this morning. So I hope everybody has a really good day. I'm going to do what I need to do on my end in order to make sure that I can get some honey flowing. So you guys have a great day. See you later. So it is worth noting, the escape board didn't fail. When I say the boxes was full of bees, it was probably only 15% full of bees. If you look at the bottom of the escape board, I mean, there's plenty of bees on the bottom of this that couldn't get back up into those honey supers. I think what I'm gonna do in the future is I'm gonna get some fume board spray, and I'm gonna use that in conjunction with the escape boards. And if I have something that's actively telling the bees to go down and an inability to go back up, I think it kind of just needs that 1-2 punch. So in the future, I'll come back to this whole escape board thing, and hopefully I have even better news to report. Now I should say, in my third hive here, in hive number 3, I think the bees did a better job at reading the instructions, because that one's 95+% free of bees. So hope yet for the escape boards. Hopefully as I go along the line, the rest of them are like that as well. I'm really just, the bees that are in it, in this hive here, I just gave them a lot of extra smoke and I shook them out. And that seemed to work pretty good. That way, is anything I can do to avoid having to brush every single frame. That's what I'm all about.